Am I the butthole for refusing to let my partner's best friend sleep in one of our spare bedrooms while she's getting divorced? My girlfriend Anna 32F, all names changed BTW, and I 35M are currently living in a house that I owned since before the start of our relationship. Anna's best friend, Catherine 33F, and I never really got along. Partially maybe because we're very different types of people, but primarily it's because she doesn't approve of the fact that Anna and I have an open relationship. Ever since Anna disclosed this fact to Catherine, she accused me of cheating and that I pressured Anna into it. Our interactions have gone from frosty to cold. And just to set the record straight, it's not cheating. Cheating absolutely exists in open relationships. The thresholds are just set through discussion, and neither of us ever did anything that's against these agreed upon hard rules ever. Also, neither one of us pressured the other one. We just had a conversation early in our relationship why our previous relationships failed and realized that both of us struggled with relationships getting routine, and we weren't ready to mothball the thrill and excitement of meeting and dating new people yet. As we're both not particularly jealous people, we decided to try a non-monogamous relationship, and it worked well for us ever since. I also already tried explaining this to Catherine once or twice, so from my point of view, I did my due diligence to have a good relationship with her, but her perception of that might differ. Anyways, last week Anna had an unexpected emergency call from Catherine, and, as it turns out, she's serving her hubby with divorce papers because he had a secret affair over the last few months. As a good friend does, Anna immediately invited her friend to stay at our place for a few weeks until things are sorted out. Catherine doesn't have family here, but we both have beds in our respective home offices, and so in her mind, it was the perfect solution. When Anna told me a few minutes after the call, I quickly had to pump the brakes. I'm not going to lie that the idea of having a hostile house guest in my own home isn't unappealing on its own already, but that's not even my main reason. Both Anna and I have friends with benefit secondary partners that occasionally stay over when Anna works night shift or I'm traveling for work, and they also visit just for the occasional, platonic movie night or dinner party. Friends with benefits are friends after all. Now, having Catherine here would mean we'd either have to significantly scale back these relationships for an undetermined length of time or have them over anyways. As I imagine Catherine is probably even less tolerant towards perceived infidelity right now. That would probably just be a crappy to hostile experience for our other partners. Both of these things, to me, sound unfair towards me and our secondary relationships, as we always saw these as real relationships that deserve respect and consideration just as much as our relationship, within some increments of prioritization, of course. I told Anna that I don't want Catherine living here. Anna pretty much saw my reasoning right away and, given that I own the house, apologized for her rushed invitation and called Catherine to take it back. But since then, the situation has gotten out of hand tbh. Our friends are pretty much split along the lines of "it's your house" and "wow, you put Catherine on the streets just because of your side chicks." And Catherine kicked the conversation up an additional notch by insinuating that I'm trying to isolate Anna from her, and just said no because I hate that they are friends. For the record, I never had a problem with their friendship, nor did I ever do anything to limit it. Anyways, I'm increasingly starting to wonder if my objection has been worth it and the right call, or if it's been unfair towards Catherine. So am I the butthole? Edit, maybe to clarify. Catherine has never been outwardly aggressive or offensive against me. It's always been insinuations and probably gossip. Update. I figured I'd be giving an update because I still get X upvotes notifications for my initial post somehow. The responses were also actually kinda helpful, so I'd also like to say thanks and share the outcome. It was reassuring that so many people agreed we weren't out of line and we should stick with our decision. Even more helpful were the questions why we didn't turn the tables. Got in front of the supposed backlash, more on that later, and said, "Well, why don't you host her then?" What can I say except that we're not located somewhere where everyone from your barber to your second cousin will blow up your inbox socials and call you and butthole to your face on behalf on a third party. We only heard about the criticism against us through the grapevine, and we didn't really have a specific person to say, well, then you take her too. But after reading your comments, Anna got the idea to let out a WhatsApp broadcast to our shared friend group. It basically said that we're feeling very guilty because of Catherine's situation. Very guilty because of Catherine's situation, and that it was crappy to make a promise and then take it back. But we simply realized that our lifestyle seemed like it might be triggering to her in her current situation that would be uncomfortable for everyone involved. But we'd be happy to help anyone who'll take her in whatever way we can. Cue the crickets. That was the moment we realized that maybe there were less people on Catherine's side than we initially assumed. Actually, only one couple who were friends with both Catherine and her hubby reached out to invite us to dinner, apparently to share some things we weren't aware of yet. First of all, according to them, the affair wasn't the carnal thing Catherine made it out to be, and more of a falling out of love situation on the husband's side that has long been coming. Basically, he met someone, and that made him realize that his marriage was dead, and he did the moral thing and broke up with Catherine. No one is 100% sure if there's been something physical before that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was all in Catherine's head. There's also apparently a very juicy reason why he gets to keep staying in the house, but this update is long enough already. Anyways, as for the whole smear campaign lodged against us, turns out that the whole drama apparently consisted of only 3 things. Catherine trying to pressure us and consciously or unconsciously sowing rumors that everybody is really angry with us. A single couple that stood on Catherine's side. And a lot of people hoping to not get pulled into a war of roses and just nodding politely. The couple that was on Catherine's side are the friends that Catherine hit up right after us, by the way. The dinner party friends theory is that they threw us under the bus and fed into Catherine's outrage because that couple has a young daughter, and we know for a fact that Catherine has just as many Karen-style convictions about parenting as she has about relationship styles. Anyways, Catherine is now basically ostracized, moved in with family a bit outside the city, and is working remotely until she finds a condo to haunt this city from again. I also want to clarify a few things from the original post. To the people that insinuated that I pressured Anna into this relationship or keep her on a short leash, given how NM dating works out for different genders, trust me when I tell you she isn't lacking options to get out of this relationship if she wanted. To the ones that criticized her for not standing up for me, I consciously didn't want to include this part because I didn't want to invite judgment of Anna. Yeah, hindsight is 20/20ths, but that has been a dicey subject in our relationship. But after having Anna's explicit permission to share this here now, there's actually a lot of backstory with Catherine adopting a loner Anna into her friend group back in their school days, and Anna somehow still feeling like she needed to earn her place in the friend group grateful for Catherine. She's currently looking into going to therapy for that. Finally, I want to add a last bit of positive news coming out of this crap show. This whole fiasco made Anna and me talk through the whole someone else moving in topic. It's not really something we're gonna do in the near future, but Anna told me that there's one person she's currently seeing with whom she might be eventually moving into that direction. And this time she asked me early if I'd be okay with her moving in with us somewhere in the future Hinge, not throuple for the people that speak poly on here. I kinda like that Catherine would probably hate that this is the outcome of her whole tantrum. But other than that, I'm really happy things are mainly back to normal now. Next story. I'm 22 years old and just got the news I'm dying. I failed at life and am now leaving behind a 3-year-old daughter. As the title says, last week I got the news that I am dying from lung cancer from my doctor. Turns out smoking since I was 15, and then upping it to 3 packs each day a few years ago was a bad idea. Stupid, I know. I thought it wouldn't come so soon though. It's stage 4, and as of now I have months to live. Please don't feel bad for me. I've done nothing good in life. except have my daughter, to really be sad about losing me. I have no family because I grew up in the foster system and aged out at 18. My daughter's father is in prison for serious crimes that even if he got out, he wouldn't be allowed to be in her life. My daughter is only 3. We don't live in a good area, and when I go to work I have to leave her with an elderly neighbor that always gets her name wrong every day. I don't want her to grow up like I did in that foster care system. I feel like it's the reason why I messed up and did nothing good with my life. Yeah, I know it's not the only reason, and my own stupidity caused most of my issues, but if I just had some family or a support system to keep me in check, it could have been better. I just want to give her some chance to have a better shot than I did. The thing is, I do have an idea for who could take care of her. One of my closest friends is a coworker at my job, and she's amazing. While I'm at the bottom of the job, like if they need to lay off people, I would definitely be the first to go. She's their prized worker and makes serious bank. She has a good husband and a kid. I want to ask her if she would be okay with adopting my little girl once I'm gone. But I know it won't go well. The thing is, my coworker and her family are black, and me and my daughter are white. Like we both have blue eyes and can't tan white. There is no way I can ask my friend to adopt my daughter and force her to deal with those kind of issues an adoption like that will bring to her family. But then that just leaves my little girl to grow up like I did, in a crappy system with only a will of about $1,000 to help her and a necklace my mother had that I'm going to give her. I don't know if I should bite the bullet and ask my close friend if she is willing to take my daughter, or just suck it up and try to work as hard as I can to get as much money into my will for my girl. But either way, I failed as a mother. And that is a regret I am literally taking to my grave. Edit. Okay, I reached out to her, and we were able to set up a place to meet. It's some simple cheap bakery you can eat inside. I'm going to ask her if she can adopt my daughter. That way, if she says no, I can have more time to go to an adoption agency near us. Thank you for the support, everyone. Update. Alright, I'm back now. A day after my post, I was able to meet up with my friend coworker. And after telling her about my diagnosis, which is something I haven't told anyone at work, I asked her if she was willing to adopt my little girl. She was shocked and tried to comfort me about my upcoming death. But she told me she couldn't give me her answer right then and there. Turns out, she does want a daughter, but something happened in her second pregnancy and caused her issues I don't feel right sharing. So she does want to consider adopting, but she first needed to talk to her husband and talk about planning if he agrees. I understood since it was a big change in their family. I said okay, and after we ate, she gave me a hug and told me she will miss me. This is embarrassing, but I actually started crying. I also started making the emails, gave me this idea, and I thought it was amazing. So I created an email for my daughter and started pre-recording videos for stuff. It's nowhere near ready, but I already have some ideas and recorded some videos for her birthdays and some big life events like first crushes and prom and first job. Sad to say, but I realized planning it that most of the videos will be, don't do what I did. My friend reached out to me a few days ago and said that after having a long talk with her husband, they both are considering it. Apparently, they do this thing where after talking about a huge change in their lives, they'll come to something to agree on and then wait for a while, and if they're still on the same page, then it sounds like a good idea. She did tell me that it wasn't a yes though. There are some issues they want to fix first. She said that while they both really like the idea, they barely know anything about my little girl. Her husband and 6-year-old son haven't even seen her, and while she has seen and heard about her, it's from me. So she told me about a plan they came up with. For the rest of this month, I'm going to have to get up 2 hours earlier than normal to drop off my daughter at their house, so her husband can watch over her as he works at home. Then I'll go to work with my coworker. This way her husband and son can get to know her. She also said she wants us to celebrate Christmas with them, so that's something to look forward to in the future. I've already done it yesterday, and when I went to go pick up my little girl, she was the happiest I've ever seen her in a long time. My friend's husband said that they went off on the wrong foot in the start. He said she was really scared sometimes and didn't want to play with their son yet. But since it was their first day, he thinks she'll get better. We did it again today, and he said she mostly watched their son play, but it was already better than yesterday. So that's what's happening right now. I'm scared this will be for nothing. But at the very least now my daughter is getting better at their house for now. So even if they say no in the end, she already has some better memories than when she was with me. Update 2. I'm back again. I'm sorry for being gone so long, a lot has happened, and this will be my last post. So this is going to be long, sorry. First, I started feeling real sick days after Christmas. My whole chest was hurting like someone was hitting it with a hammer over and over, and I was coughing up blood. My best friend was terrified that I caught something, because the doctors have said that me getting sick right now could be deadly, so we had to go to the doctor. Thankfully, I didn't get anything. It was the symptoms getting worse. Also, thankfully, at the time I was still at work, so I didn't have to pay much for the bills. Yeah, that was another terrible thing that happened to me recently. After that trip to the hospital, my work called me in privately. Remember how I said that if something were to happen, I would be the first to go? Guess what? The bosses were telling me how they couldn't keep me there as I'm dying because it wouldn't feel right, and how it's apparent to them my illness was slowing me down, and forcing my coworkers to work harder to make up for me wouldn't be fair and all that. I know I was just causing more problems to my coworkers since I got diagnosed, but I didn't think they would complain about me to my bosses. I'm so stupid for that. Of course I was being a pain. I was hoping to still be with them to the end of the month, so I could pay my apartment rent. And I had barely enough money for bills, rent, groceries, public transport, and hospital bills. This is where my best friend / former coworker comes in. After testing out caring for my little girl for a few weeks and spending a big holiday with them, she and her husband agreed to adopt her. She was telling me about some of her plans, and I told her it would probably be for the best that my daughter moves in with them. She asked me why, and I told her our work fired me, and I wouldn't be able to care for both of us with so little money. She told me we both could move in with them. They have plenty of guest rooms I could pick. I swear I tried to say no. Her family was already doing so much for us, I felt like this was too much. She told me I could be a huge help for them living there during my last months. Her husband could use the help looking after her as he works. I can help them decorate and fix up her new room, show them the foods my daughter likes to eat. So I promise I'm not going to be a bother to them, and we are hard at work getting the needed papers together for the adoption after I'm gone. Besides, me living there could help my little girl become more comfortable in her new home. And guess how rich her family are? They have a personal family lawyer. When I haven't been feeling sick, we've been working with him to make sure the adoption goes through. Okay, after all of that, I do want to share some other fun news. Christmas with them was probably the best Christmas my daughter and even I have ever had our entire lives. My friend's family had like 5 Christmas trees in their entire house. Thanks to my friend, I was able to make a really special Christmas gift for my daughter, a Build-A-Bear. Well, it was really a bunny, but still. I made a voice recording telling her how much I love and will always try to keep her safe. And my friend knows about the emails. I'm almost done with them actually, just a few more left. I gave her the password to both the email and this Reddit account, so once I pass she could delete this one. Sorry, but I've been getting so much messages, I don't want people to message me when I'm gone. And about the messages, I've gotten a lot since I updated. Apparently my story was shared on TikTok. That's cool. It's weird, I've gotten so many people reaching out to me and messaging me wanting to talk. I've never had that happen in my life. It's funny how it happens once I'm dying. Tons saying how if my friends said no, they would love to adopt my little girl. Thank you, but thankfully my friend did say yes. But if you still want to adopt, please reach out to a foster care system in your state. There are still children struggling in the system going through what I did. Give those kids the life I could never have. I've also had some saying how they would love to pay me money to help. Please don't bother. Sorry, but it feels weird accepting money. My whole life I've worked for everything I've had, so it feels wrong accepting money and help from strangers just because I'm dying. I do want to address a few messages I've gotten about race. Most were about why I cared about my friend's family and me and my daughter's race being different. It wasn't a lot, but a few called me a racist for caring about that. I want to say that my nerves about that isn't because I think me and my daughter being white makes us better than my friend. Far from it. I've seen a lot of stuff in the system and talked with other kids of different races. And those kids of different races were put into care with people who were also a different race from them. They would tell me the problems they faced from the parents. Not that I'm scared my friend will do that, but also from the outside world. Being called names and insulted. One kid told me how she got screamed at by some older lady at a restaurant, and the parents did try to get involved, and it got into a nasty fight. So yeah, I was scared her family and my daughter would face the same bigotry the foster kids I knew from before faced. But I can't let my fears about some bigots ruin my daughter's chances. Anyways, this will be the last time I'm going to probably post on here. I don't want to waste my last days. I've thought about taking up painting again actually. I used to paint when I was in high school before I was dropped out. And once in the same school we've read a classic book about a world where books are banned. I don't remember a lot from the story, but I do remember at the ending when a character said you didn't waste life when you make something to leave behind. That always stuck with me. I want to paint something. Maybe my friend could hang it up or keep it in their attic. But as long as I've left something behind, my life wasn't for nothing, right? I also need to help my friend's family and my daughter settle into their new lives. Thank you to everyone for your kindness, and goodbye. Random boy, what about your daughter's other parent? Grandparents? I'm sorry this is happening, but please consider family first. OP, her father is in prison for a hopeful very long time because he did a crime involving children, so even if he got out, he would not be allowed around her. Not like I would want him to. My parents are dead. Update 3. She's resting now. I've wrote and deleted this post so many times. She asked me to update for all of you when she passed, and yet I couldn't until now, and for that I'm sorry. We buried her 2 weeks ago. My coworkers, our family, and even some friends she made over her life that she managed to keep in touch showed up to her funeral. When she saw the prices of what a casket and plot of land in the cemetery would cost, she had a panic attack, and so we told her we'll go with the cheapest prices. We lied about that. She deserved a good funeral and a nice resting place. Her name was Michelle. She was put into the foster care system when she was 3 after her mother passed in a car accident. She never knew her father. When she was 16, the man who was supposed to be caring for her took her out of high school. She found out she was pregnant from him when she was 18, and it was discovered he had horrible images and videos of children on his computer, and so was arrested. Ever since, she was working and doing her damn best to make ends meet for her and her daughter. She got a job at our workplace just a few weeks after she turned 19. I only discovered just a few months ago she actually lied to get the job. I asked Michelle why she did that, and she responded, "Why would it be a big deal? They taught me everything anyways." That is the Michelle I knew. It shocks me reading over her messages she left behind. How little she thought of herself. She was always so confident, at least how we all saw her. She walked head held high and with a purpose. She never appeared out of control of a situation, except for the past few months, and honestly, I believe she was allowed to have moments of panic and grief. Nothing went past her too. She seemed to know everything that was going on around her at all times. It also seemed like Michelle wasn't afraid of anything. She even made friends with some homeless people around the areas she lived in before moving in with us. One of them was Ted, who she knew because he was around a gas station besides the bus stop. Before her cancer took a turn for the worst and she was taken to a hospital, she asked me to drive her there. I thought at the time she wanted to see some familiar sights. But instead she walked into the gas station, bought a sandwich, and then walked around the side and handed it to who I learned was Ted. Ted showed up to her funeral. I don't want to describe her last few weeks when she was alive. It was in the hospital, and she was so weak and frail. Just not like her. We visited her as much as we could. Our children hated seeing her in such a state though. All of us did. But we couldn't just ignore her and leave her behind. I wonder if it was the right thing to do though. Our last visit, I just had a feeling it was the end. She was asleep when she finally passed on. She had gladiolus and poppies at her funeral. We all loved the meaning behind the gladioli flower, and she picked poppies because she loved calling our daughter her little poppy. We painted little poppies on her bedroom walls. She keeps asking us where her mother is, and always sleeps with the bunny build a bear Michelle made. Michelle never got to finish her painting, but I think that makes it more special. We're gonna hang it up in our daughter's room when she gets older. The emails are finished, and she's going to see her first one on her 4th birthday. We have all the letters and recipes she was able to write down tucked away in a safe location. Like the painting, we'll give them to her as she grows older. We also were able to apply our daughter for full Social Security survivors benefits, and we'll be putting those into a savings account for future college or life use. That's all I can think of right now. According to Michelle's wishes, I'll be deleting this account in a few weeks. My husband and I promise we'll raise our daughter to the very best we can and make sure she is as loved as Michelle loved her. Thank you all for your kind words and support. Next story. Am I the butthole for not letting my kids ride 4 hours home with their grandmother? Around 1 m there was a terrible crash as my 70F Mill decided to try to navigate our stairs in the dark while wearing a CPAP. She tumbled down the steps, hitting her head bad enough to bruise her face and cause some serious swelling around her ear. I immediately started calling 911, but my wife, who is a NICU RN, told me not to call as her mother had no obviously broken bones and didn't want to go. I'm not a medical professional, and it's seldom wise to argue with a nurse or one's wife, but I pressed for them to at least let me drive her to the if they refused an ambulance, but all to no avail. This was just a couple of hours ago, and she's now in the bed with an ice pack and a couple of Tylenol to avoid blood thinners. In the morning, she wants to drive home and take my 9F daughter and 13M son to her place for the week. This has been planned for weeks, and I would have no issues with it, but for the fact that the woman just fell down a flight of stairs and could have a concussion. I love her and don't want her to drive at all and asked her to stay a couple of extra days, but if she insists on going, I can't stop her. I told my wife I was uncomfortable with the kids riding with her given the danger, and she thinks I'm being silly, which I don't understand at all as she's a very competent nurse. I finally told her that everyone could be mad at me, but it simply wasn't an option. I'll take the day off and drive them if I must, but I won't take any chances. Am I the butthole? Update. Well, my Mill was alive and conscious when we woke this morning. My wife stayed up to watch over her through the night. I spoke to my wife this morning and again shared my concerns regarding the dangers my Mill would be posing to herself and our kids, and my wife was frustrated that I questioned her opinion, but when I asked if she was so utterly certain in her diagnosis sans any medical equipment that she was willing to bet both her mother and our children's lives on it, she sheepishly relented and agreed the kids would stay home and that she would encourage her mom to go to the I spoke to my Mill again and asked her to let me take her to the and she shared that her primary reason for refusing medical care was a fear of the cost of doing so. Unfortunately, that's a serious concern of many folks here in the US. Anyways, hearing that, I firmly insisted she go and told her we'd cover any costs. She and my wife finally went to the and after several hours and copious tests, it was in fact determined that she had a concussion as well as rib and wrist fractures and soft tissue injuries bruising. My wife was pretty devastated with the diagnosis and was deeply apologetic and remorseful. My mother-in-law will be in the hospital until at least tomorrow. The hospitalist pretty directly chided both my wife and Mill. All in all, I'm thankful that things didn't end up worse. The kids only cared about their grandma being okay. Some answers to questions asked. My mill is a retired school teacher on a very limited fixed income along with my fill. There's no inheritance or other reason my wife would have wished her ill. They have a great relationship. My wife sprang out of bed the moment the accident happened and was almost detached and clinical at the moment, but was later extremely emotional. Her father had a major stroke last year, and we actually just sold our house Friday in order to move closer to her parents to help take care of them in their old age. While my wife has been a NICU nurse for a decade, she was a step-down IQ nurse for 8 years. I realize that doesn't strengthen her case regarding her decision, but perhaps it adds context. She really is remarkable with babies and has saved many a life, but I can certainly understand why the circumstances of these events would paint her in a less than beneficial light. In retrospect, I think my wife was in a state of shock. She's never lost anyone, and her dad's stroke is still fresh on her mind. I've lost both parents and 4 siblings plus plenty of friends my time in the service, so I have to look at her through a lens of empathy. Next story. My wife 25F is cheating on me 27M without cheating on me. Let me explain. Sorry, this is long, but there is a lot of information. My wife and I have been each other's closest and often only friend for the longest time. Both of us are very shy and have a hard time making friends. Recently, she made a friend at her job, who is a guy. She's had guy work friends before, and it never really bothered me. But this one is different. First, she started texting him a lot out of nowhere, and I didn't know about it until I discovered she went over our texting limit, which she never ever got close to before. She hid it from me for fear of me getting jealous. She is adamant about him just being a friend and one that she needs. She goes to lunch with him and goes to get coffee. Once a week or so, they talk on the phone for a couple hours. They've also been sending pictures of themselves to each other, not racy ones or anything, just normal stuff. They often text each other all day long, literally, even to the point that they have to say goodnight to each other. Now, for the most part, she has been open about it all. Every now and then, I'll discover something she didn't tell me or catch her in a small lie that she said she was doing to protect my feelings. But still, for the most part, she isn't hiding it. I'm fairly positive they aren't spending more time together than I think because there isn't any missing time in her schedule that I've seen. No time unexplained. But I still feel like she is having an emotional affair. I've told her in no uncertain terms that this makes me uncomfortable, that I really don't like her having this level of friendship with another man. But I also know that it's wrong for me to tell her she can't have this friendship. The problem is, he is also married, and their marriage is going through tough times, and his wife has told him not to text my wife anymore. So, they've started texting through hanging with friends, so she won't know, which I think is disrespectful and wrong. People at her work have been speculating that they are having an affair to the point it spread to the whole store. I've asked my wife, in one of the many fights discussions we've had about this, if she would tell her mom what she was doing. She said no. I asked if she thought what she was doing against my wishes and his wife's wishes was okay. She said no. But this is not enough to get her to stop. I'm not even asking her to drop him as a friend, just to treat him like a normal friend from work. No platonic dates or long chats or all-day text marathons. She has even told me that if the situation was reversed, she would hate it if I had a girlfriend like this, but still, this is not enough for her to stop. I cannot talk to anyone about it, because every friend or family member of mine is also close with her, and I wouldn't want anyone thinking less of her or knowing we're having this issue. So, I have to suffer in silence. I don't know what I should do. I'm trying to respect her and not be overbearing, but this whole thing just feels like it has gone way too far, and I feel I am justified in hating this. It feels good just to write this all out. Sorry I rambled and jumped around a bit. Just so much information. Anyway, what do you think? Am I just being too sensitive and paranoid? Or am I right in being upset? TLDR, my wife has a guy friend that she spends way too much time with and energy on. to the point that everyone at their work think they are having an affair. I've been clear that I am uncomfortable with this, but don't want to be controlling, so I let my feelings be known, but stop short of putting my foot down. My wife hasn't backed off even a little bit, but she has been mostly open about everything, not really hiding it from me. Should I be worried? And if so, what should I do? I will not be leaving her, and she knows that, so that threat is not an option. Update 1. Thank you all so much for your comments and advice. It has all been very eye-opening and helpful. I realize now that I am in denial, and that, whether she realizes it or not, this is a problem that needs fixing. I left her a letter at home explaining my feelings and packed a small bag. I'm spending the night in the hotel and have asked to meet with her tomorrow to talk this thing out. I don't know if this is the right step to take first, but I feel like I need to wake her up to the fact that I am not going to be okay with this. I'm sure she'll try and find me tonight. Don't know if I'll answer when she does. Not sure what is going to happen, but whatever is going to happen, it happens now. I'll post a proper update soon. Also, sorry for the confusion about the gender thing. I didn't even realize I listed myself as a female until someone directly asked me if I was a lesbian. That explains a few other slightly puzzling responses too. Haha. But yeah, I'm a guy. Update 2. Thank you all so much for your comments and advice. It has all been very eye-opening and helpful. I came to realize I was in denial, and that, whether my wife realized it or not, this was a problem that needed fixing. As I posted already yesterday, I left her a letter at home explaining my feelings and packed a small bag. I went to spend the night in the hotel and asked to meet with her tonight to talk this thing out. In the letter, I posted about a dozen of the comments from your folks, just so she could see what other people think of our situation. I also included what I posted, so she would know I didn't exaggerate. Don't worry, I didn't include your handles, so she won't be coming after you. When she got home and read the note, she called me. I didn't answer, but in her voicemail, in which she was bawling, which is very uncharacteristic of her, she begged me to come home and talk. She said in the message that yesterday she was at lunch with the other guy and they both had already decided to end the friendship because they both realized they were developing feelings for each other. After a while, I decided to go home and talk with her. We had quite a long conversation. She told me that the other day he admitted to having feelings for her but promised not to push. She told me that the day before yesterday, she realized she was developing feelings for him too, and it scared her. She said she really thought they were just friends, that she was refusing to believe it was becoming anything more, and then it just happened. She told me that they didn't do anything physical yet, that it hadn't gotten that far, which is why they decided to end the friendship, because neither wanted to cross a line they can't uncross. I'm choosing to believe her in that. She told me that even though she was already backing out of the friendship with him, that the letter I left really opened her eyes at what she was doing to me and to us. It killed me to see her so broken and ashamed. I've never seen her like this before. We both cried for a long time. I said everything I had to say and asked the questions I needed to know the answers to. I believe she was honest with me, finally, about everything, including some things that were hard to hear. This went on for a couple hours. Instead of staying at the hotel by myself, I invited her to come with me. We went out to dinner, went to the hot tub at the hotel, and then had a wonderful night together. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but this isn't the end of it. We've got a lot of stuff to work through. We're talking about some counseling, and it'll take me a while to fully trust her again. I'm not just letting it slide like nothing happened, but I'm also not giving up on my marriage. I will not. I never will. Some of you may think that makes me a chump, but I don't care. This is the woman I pledged to spend the rest of my life with, and as long as I have a say in the matter, I don't intend on breaking that promise. For better or for worse, right? Today, I also sent a text message to the other guy, telling him that my wife told me what was going on, and that I wanted to make it clear that if I ever see even just a single non-work related text from him on her phone again, that we will be having a different discussion and in person. My wife and I have a long road ahead of us, but I'm positive we are both committed to getting things fixed between us and moving forward. I really wanted to thank all of you, at least those of you who offered real advice for yesterday. I needed to be woken up, and I think it happened just in the nick of time. I feel like this dark cloud is finally starting to break up. TLDR, I left my wife a letter expressing all my feelings and fears and left for the night. She called and begged me to come home. We talked for several painful hours, as she explained that, while nothing physical happened between her and her male friend, they both admitted that they were developing feelings for each other and decided it would be best to part ways. My wife and I are going to work on our relationship and move on from this. It's going to take some time for me to trust her again, but I'm not giving her up without a fight. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me the courage to stand up for myself. It may have just saved our marriage. Update 3. Hello again, everyone. Thank you all, most of you, anyway, for your wonderful messages of encouragement. My wife and I have been having a lot of deep, emotional discussions over these last couple days. Having been with her for 12 years, I can honestly say that I've noticed a big change in her during these past couple months, but these past few days, she's finally back to her old self again. I can tell that she's sincere. Found out that the other guy and his wife and moving away soon, which makes me happy. My wife has felt so terrible. She is committing to being transparent, allowing me to be as nosy as I need to be, and to check up on her as much as I need to until I feel comfortable again. We are going to be starting up some counseling with our pastor soon, which I think is going to be a great help. It still hurts that it even got as far as it did. I've been cycling through anger, hurting, disappointment, and hope. I'm sure it will take a long while before those bad feelings go away. But we're going to be okay. I'm sure of it. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.